has won the highest number of medals in the history at Tokyo Paralympics under her leadership, under Dr. Malik's leadership. And for this historic feat, Dr. Deepa Malik has been conferred with the Asian Order 2022, the highest honor among all Asian countries participating in para sports. Dr. Malik is also a recipient of 5 Presidents of India awards, 4 Limca World Records, 3 international awards, 68 national and state medals, and 23 international medals. And joining her on stage is Suresha Sawant, Senior Anchor and Correspondent, Republic Media Network. Over to you, Suresha.
Thank you so much, Rakshita. And Deepa, I'm glad I'm getting to have a conversation with you once again. Welcome, and thank you for being here. I've always said this, you're an inspiration to all of us, you're an inspiration to the entire country. The more we hear your story, the lesser it is, because every time it gives us goosebumps and, you know, helps us take to a whole new angle in life when it comes to positivity, determination, you know, having that fighting streak. But today I want to start by asking you, Deepa, how is it through all these difficult phases, through all these challenging phases, you've always been able to maintain that focus and determination through the difficult times?
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity to share my thoughts. Republic has always been very kind and very proactive, talking about inclusive India, and that is how I want to see. And when you ask me this question, that how I kept my motivation going and what really drove me through all the challenges, because challenges were many. They were emotional, they were physical, they were gender related, they were disability related, they were infrastructure related, they were social mindset related. So endless barriers, but I think when your purpose is strong, when your motivation to bring about a change, as they say, be the change that you want to see around yourself. And the whole journey of ability beyond disability has been to drive the change home and create my new India as an India which is accessible infrastructurally, in the mindsets, and also digitally, because that is a new arena where we need inclusive accessibility on all the information technology and digital devices. And early years, I think where it all began, I was chest below paralyzed. I think most of you know about that, that 24 years ago, a tumor left me totally paralyzed below the chest with bladder and bowel challenges. So the paralysis was not in my mind or my soul. I always said that maybe my body got paralyzed, but my soul was never paralyzed, because I was happy to be alive. I was happy to be around my 2 children. I was happy to celebrate life. But in the eyes of the society, and a very near and dear ones, that is because they are stereotypically biased, tuned, trained to think on a tangent which takes you that a person in paralysis is just a homebound, room-bound, bed-bound liability, which is going to be a source of sadness, demotivation, incapacitated, creating more financial expenses in the house, and no longer has the adjectives which describe you as a person of fun, frolic, fashion, dance, travel. I mean, all this was taken away from a person who was, whose innate nature was outdoors, who loved traveling, who loved dancing, who loved biking, who was always a public person. All I did was lay down in a bed and look at the ceiling, because there were no options for me. There were no mediums which were thought around to give me the same persona that I owned. Helping someone, assisting someone, getting a nurse to give you a bedpan and give you catheterization and enema to pass stool in a bedpan, someone to come and bathe you, a doctor to come and do your physiotherapy, that is fine. That is basic need of a body in a certain medical condition. What do you do about a person and their mental well-being, their internal happiness and the sources of happiness which that human being enjoys? So that was the question mark, and I think that in the quest of answers to these questions, I set out on my own journey. My resume was just read, first person to do that, first person to do this. Whatever came my way, whether they were creating records in adventure sports, whether they were winning medals in sports, at an unconventional age when I started, everything was powered and dedicated, aimed, inspired towards finding myself and letting people know that I'm happy and I'm still the same Deepa.
Deepa, so far, whenever we watched your interviews and we've, heard of your story on various platforms, a lot is spoken about the physical challenges you faced and how you conquered those. But today I want to talk to you about the mental and emotional challenges that you faced as a woman. Earlier this morning we had a panel on women CEOs and how they've climbed up the corporate ladder. And Dr. Kiran Bedi happened to mention that, when it is about successful CEOs, for example, Indira Nui, it is also about a very supportive husband she's had at home. What was your domestic setup like when it came to your husband and your children through a time that was so challenging?
Well, the time that I was getting paralyzed, my husband was at the war. The Kargil war was going on. So he literally saw me after 4 months of my being paralyzed. So you can imagine getting diagnosed, to shifting from Jaipur to Delhi to get operated, to be in the pre-operative stage where doctors told you that you will not be alive, you may die, the tumor infection may spread, but if we are able to save you, you will be chest below paralyzed. To the initial shock of opening my eyes after a 45 days of coma, after 3 major surgeries to the spinal column, only to discover that the only thing that I can move is my hands and my neck, and I need support to sit up, I need support to have a bath, to pass urine. A body which had won a beauty contest just 6 months ago when my husband was on a course in Ooty, in Wellington. And suddenly you are the topic of discussion because you no longer have a body that is capable of making a person be alive in it. And the typical feeling of rejection. And अगर मैं अपनी ठेठ हरियाणा की भाषा में कहूँ, तो कतई कंडम होगी, आदमी का ब्याह करा दो, दूसरा गरीब घर की छोरी ले आओ और इसको भी देख लेगी, पति को भी देख लेगी, बच्चों को भी माँ मिल जाएगी. So even my motherhood was challenged. My love for my children was challenged. I don't know how to express it, but the grandparents thought that now they were supposed to bring up my children out of love. My husband left army without having any discussion with me. The whole reason of my marriage was that he was a person who will make me travel, who will make me go to different parts of the country. There is an adventurous life that he leads. Every morning he will go to games and I will go watch him play. And then 8 o'clock I'm going to be doing brasso on his uniform and see my man wearing the army uniform and go to office. All this was just taken away from me without any consultation because he, out of love, felt that now Deepa can no longer go places, travel. How is she going to? So nobody was looking at the solutions. There was always an accusation of disability on me. And that was emotionally very taxing. It was emotionally like you're alive, you're breathing, you're eating, and you're doing your daily routine, but there is nothing beyond that. How can you live like that? And I was just 30 years old. So it was a lot of emotions. I had to win back my children. I had to win them back because after 8 months when I returned home after basic rehabilitation, I realized that they were no longer coming to me. Whether if they had to eat, they had to go out, they had to dress up, they had to look for their uniforms, they had to pick up their tiffins. They were not looking at me. And for a mother, being alive and losing your children to someone else, be it be anybody, it was a lot of turmoil. It wasn't easy. And then I had to regain the faith of everyone. I had to regain the faith of myself, then the faith of my children. Of course, when I expressed that I want to move out of my in-laws' house, however palatial that was, but I want to find my own journey. I wanted to play sports because that became my calling. My husband said, again out of love, I want to put it on record that there is no fight as such, but he also got lost in the process. Because he was ignorant of disability, and if my own husband was ignorant coming from an educated background, how ignorant my country would be, how ignorant a common man or a common citizen of my country will be, and how ignorant and pained the persons in disability will be if this is happening to me. And that is where it all began. And these were the challenges I had to overcome.
You know, Deepa, since morning we've been having these conversations of how, the work environment needs to change in that sense, of how corporates need to restructure and bring in governance policies which are more supportive in terms of promoting the women workforce. But while we are expecting that from outsiders, this is something you face within your own home, and that too when, you come from an army background and which is most progressive in its mindset. You're rightly mentioning that, if this is the story you faced, what must it be like in the tier 2, tier 3 cities for women who are still waiting to break these shackles, fight these gender stereotypes, these gender biases, and you must have faced that even when you announced that decision that now I'm going to, go into javelin throws and swimming and, I'm going to take this up fully. What was that first reaction? And even at your workplace, when you stepped out, what was the reaction you got?
छोरे कतई पागल होगी, बुढ़ापे में खेल रही है. I mean, I left, I started swimming at 36. I took to athletics at 40. I started preparing for a Paralympic level medal at 46. And at 48, I created my third consecutive Asian record in javelin after becoming the first woman in Paralympics. So the first woman to win an Asian medal in athletics, to the World Championship medal, and to win the first Paralympic medal across any sport. So obviously, and then I left home and I came to Delhi. There were a lot of constraints, financial constraints, because CSR was not aligned to parasports. Parasports was considered as a recreational charity sports. Nobody understood that it was very much mainstream, and I'm so grateful. I'm very, very grateful to Arnab. He has been a continuous support. Whether my first TV program that came in 2006 when I was running a restaurant and I had declared a financial independence and self-reliance by running a garden restaurant from a wheelchair, to then making an appeal. I remember that award ceremony where Arnab said that, imagine, now this is important, Arnab said that he gets 2 minutes to speak and the chief guest, who was our vice president, he gets 3 minutes to speak. But Deepa, you get 20 minutes to speak. So imagine to get 20 minutes as against Arnab, who only speaks for 2 minutes. But that changed everything, because that 20 minutes of conversation gave me what a following, and my voice had validity, and I was heard. I was made a part of the policy making after that, because there were 25 union ministers attending that function. And from there, I think the real turning point happened even for parasports, because I pushed the policies, my voice was heard, and very grateful to Honorable Prime Minister, sir. Even before he was elected as a Prime Minister, Honorable Modi ji had invited us for Chai Pe Charcha, and on that he asked, And I just said, sir, I'm going to vote for you if you bring about changes for parasports. And the moment he got elected, to that day, to even as recent as day before yesterday, he was talking about Paralympic sports in his 15th August speech. So that focus has come. So it has been a tremendous, tremendous journey. But when you say about the stereotype and the mindset, you very rightly said, even in the corporate governance, now currently I have undertaken a corporate governance course. I have my examination on 1st of September. And every module that I'm studying, every module, I have to undergo almost 49 courses and different case studies. Every module only says, uses the gender he. The whole module says, if the independent director has done this, will he be liable to do this duty? The duty is his duty, his liability, his penalty. There is no her in the whole module. So and then they're saying modules for more independent women directors to come up. But not a single module has a female gender as a reference point as a director. Yes, and this is on the Ministry of Commerce website. So I think that is where we have to start changing, because the more he you read, the more he you read, having done 27 courses out of 49, somewhere at the back of my mind is like the corporate directors can only be a he. So, yeah, so this is there.
In 2016, when you won that silver medal at the Rio 2016 Paralympics and became the first Indian woman to achieve this feat, what was that feeling like when the Indian flag was raised to your honor, and that too at a platform like that? You know, usually in moments like this, there's a quick flashback of all the tough times that you've gone through. And as we say in television, cut to, it comes to that very moment.
For me, it was a mixed bag. I'm very honest, because just before I left for the Paralympics, I was dragged to the High Court by a fellow athlete saying that she cannot throw this distance. She has cheated her way into her selections. So for 15, 20 days, I was in and out of the High Court, and there was a lot of media stir around it. And the whole point of winning this medal was to save my integrity and express my honesty, that what I did is with total honesty. So that was a lot of pressure when I was throwing. That was my first and foremost thing, that if I have to win a medal, if I have to perform, my honesty should be. So I was taken to court for a 4.48 meters throw in the local trials in India, and I won my medal with 4.61 meters. So that was a huge, huge relief. So it was a sense of relief. Then, of course, the realization that I had scripted history. It was a moment of great joy. And when my daughter continuously calling me, Prime Minister has tweeted, Prime Minister has tweeted, now President has tweeted, mob, the media is going crazy back home. And I didn't know that it's made so much of a difference. But yes, the first interview that I gave when I came back, and I was asked the same question, I said, it's a feeling, it's a paradox. On one side, I feel happy that I could open the account for female Paralympic medals in India. But what took India, independent India, more than 7 decades to make a female Paralympic medal? 1972. The first male Paralympic medal had come. But the first female came in 2016, and that's a point of concern and thought.
Absolutely. And you know, now you're a motivational speaker, Deepa. You're on so many of these platforms where you tell your story and inspire all of us. But like you're saying that, you know, you still continue to delve into working for women empowerment and trying to explore various sections of the society. Like I say, you're a part of many of these platforms. We are talking about women in tier 2, tier 3 cities. What's the story in rural India that you still see when it comes to women fighting these gender stereotypes, and how do you plan to work towards that? How is it that you address these women?
I think if you go to rural India, you see more of women empowerment, to be honest. They're working in the fields, they are they're working a lot and becoming a part of the system. But yes, when we go out there and we see today's, even the rural woman is very evolved. And I have seen sports becoming a huge medium of change. And like I'll tell you my personal experience when you talk about rural. We were doing a workshop. We have a small NGO so we were doing a disability awareness workshop, and we were talking to, we would collect 7, 8 districts together and then ask them whether paperwork is, have they got their UID ID, are they getting their compensation, are they making utilization of the government policies under which they can get some compensations, they can get loans, they can get treatment, they can get assistive aids through the welfare agencies of the government. So there was this 7 sarpanch sitting, and there was this almost a 63-year-old lady sitting in Haryana. And when she heard all this, and she says, okay, we are allowed a pension of almost 2,000, and then as you grow old, it becomes 3,000 a month. And I could see her do this, and she had an accident, and she was already disabled for almost 13 years. She got up, she was on crutches. She came to the sarpanch and she gave him 1 slap. And she said, मैं तेरे को वोट क्यों दिया था? तूने ईब तक बताई क्यों ना? मेरा तो घना नुकसान हो गया. So that's the level of, you give them knowledge and they're raring to go. Yeah. And I think that's what we need to do, and that's what interactions like these do. Yes. When we speak about a subject, we put a focus on it, and with reputed media houses like yours, the voice is carried to every corner of the country.
Deepa, you're writing a book now. You mentioned Arnav. And, you know, people who've been a very vital part of your journey, who helped you push through the most difficult times. This is your stage now. You know, who are those people? We want to know about them too.
See, like I mentioned, I always say that no success can be achieved alone. It's always a teamwork. Even when I was running a restaurant, I owe it to the chefs out there, to people who were supporting, laying the table, cleaning the plates. So it's always a teamwork. If I talk about my sports journey, there has to be a coach, a physio, a nutritionist, a mental wellness trainer, a funding agency, a federation, a government policy. So many people come together, and that's when you can, and in my life journey also, there have been a huge contribution of many, and of course, like I just mentioned, how Arnab has always appeared in my life and made a huge difference. Even today, we were talking about a very strong initiative that we need to take forward in the field of awareness towards persons with disability. So always we come up with a concrete thing, and if you ask me in this platform, I'd really like to give a huge shout out to all the efforts done by my daughters. They have been my major pillar of strength. They have been my extended parts of my body. My elder daughter met with an accident. She also has hemiplegia on the left side. And so we are a mother-daughter duo, but sports has been a huge medium to empower us. We are the only mother-daughter duo in the world who have played together at the same time in the same competition and won medals for the country. So very proud of that. And she's again getting... And we're a very strange family where normally, I always say, normally a mother dresses up a child, gives bath to a child, gets the child ready, packs their food packets, their milk bottles, their diapers, puts them in a stroller, takes them to a park or place of play. But it is my daughters who have bathed me, put me in my diapers, put me on my wheelchair, packed my gym bag and my training equipment bag, and taken me across the world to play for India. So there has been a reversal of role, and when people said, "Are iske to chhora bhi na hua," I'm really blessed to have two daughters who have been my everything.
Fantastic. You know, Deepa, with all the accomplishments, awards, medals, all that you've won in life, and you've reached this stage, today we are sitting here, do you ever feel a sense of plateauing? Do you feel that you've reached a plateau, and now how do you, or a peak, and how do you like cross this? Reach newer heights?
I think I'm one of those really fortunate beings who has every medal in her kitty, who has participated in every major sporting event, who probably has every award that can come on a mantelpiece from a country, internationally, in the field that I am. I think plateau is only when you're only aspiring for just individual glory. When you become a medium to carry the light forward, and they say true leaders make more leaders. And so your journey starts all over again. You never hit a plateau, because initially it was my journey. Now I'm responsible for many journeys in the leadership role. So you again start from scratch, and you're again climbing the heights. And I'm so happy, like you just said, when I went to Rio, it was only one female medal. But when I took the team to Tokyo, there were 3 female medals that happened. In Tokyo, they were just a participation of 2 quota allocated seats and 1 bipartite seat for women. There were 350% increase in just 4 years, and 14 female participants went on a qualification slot in Tokyo, and we are only on the rise. So I feel that if you continue to have the fire within, and you have a purpose to follow with the passion and honesty to bring about a change and to become a part of the change and touch many lives to make them better, you will never hit a plateau.
Deepa, I believe all of them are sitting here watching you right now, and some of them who want to ask you questions. Let's open the floor for questions for Deepa. All right. Anyone in the audience?
I'm sure there's one question there. Yes, I see a hand raised.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, I want to ask, we have suppressed so many opinions, suggestions of women to that extent that now they're afraid to come up. They are so afraid to take stand for themselves, and even after trying to bring them out of their shells, we are not able to. Then how can we help them in this scenario?
Change is a continuous process, and it is the theory that we as athletes learn, try until you succeed. So it's a process, and it's work in progress. So we have to continue to be focused, and even if we individually, one person can change one life and give better values to the future generation. I think the newer generation that is coming up, we give them the right education, the right values. More than focusing on women empowerment, we teach our sons right. We will have the change come in. It has to happen. It is inevitable. So you have to continue. And like when my father named me Deepa, so there is a few lines I have written dedicated to my father. And the poem, of course, is very long, but it ends, आग की ज्वाला सा, ज्योति के उजाला सा, दीपा रखा है मैंने नाम तुम्हारा, जीवन के किसी भी संघर्ष से डर न जाना, दीपा बेटी तुम सदा उम्मीद का एक नया दिया जलाना. So
Anyone else?
Hello, ma'am. It was such an inspiring story that you just told. I'm almost emotional. I just wanted to ask, ma'am, how you mentioned about your mental wellness trainer. How did you overcome all that you would have gone through? It must be really a trauma for the family, for you. How did you overcome? I'm sure there must be many amongst us, our families, who have so much that they go through every day. They deal with such things. What do you want to tell them? How to deal with it? What thought to sleep to at night so that every day is a new journey?
I'm so happy you asked because, again, it's a moment of gratitude to my mental trainer. Preeti worked very hard with me, especially when it was time to prepare for the Paralympics, because that is the biggest competition. And my event had changed from javelin to shot put. And I just had 1 year to master the art of shot put. Because for 2 consecutive Asian Games, I had made consecutive records in javelin throw. So everything had changed, equipment, diet, the weight of the equipment, the skill training, and my age was 46. So there was a lot of, so when I used to sit for my sessions professionally with her, and she analyzed my progress report as a sports person, she says, she opened her chart out and she explained to me, sports is not your problem. You have zero fear of acquiring a new skill. You have zero fear of performance. You have zero fear of faith in yourself and disciplining yourself as an athlete. Your fears are different. I said, now what are my fears? So sometimes we don't even identify. Because we are preparing for a sport, we thought that sports is the fear. But the underlying tones of my mental ill health were more carrying the guilt. Because when I came to Delhi, I lived out of one room in Shahpur Jatki Gali. And any relative from the North India who came to meet me said, oh my God, she's living in a servant quarter. She's a general's daughter-in-law and a colonel's wife who's a commandant in the armored corps. And, now she's defaming the family. Has her husband left her? What is a 46-year-old woman doing and playing? She's ignoring her children. This is the time, because my daughter was 26 by then. They said this is the time for her to focus on their marriages, their careers. What is she doing making her own career? She's chasing a dream which is impossible for an Indian to achieve. Kahan medal aate hain Olympics mein? Aur Divyang ke to bilkul hi soch hi nahi sakte. So these were the noises and the voices. These were the allegations. This fear of sabotage. So there were more these fears which were troubling me. And then I was taught in the conscious mind, in the subconscious mind, to shut down these external noises. And this whole process, there's a proper professional process they taught me through. And I urge people to identify their fears and be open to talk about them, have a clear communication around it. So she gave me certain exercises, certain visualization exercises, certain exercises to shut down the voices, work more on my self-esteem, work more on my purpose, and stop feeling guilty, because half the time I feel women are burdened with guilt. Because to be able to be at workplace, you have to sacrifice. So if a man is sacrificing family time, it is taken as hard work. But if a woman is sacrificing her family time, they say, oh, she's neglecting the home. So we are not superwomen. We are not Wonder Womans. We don't wear a red cape and fly at night across the planet and the stars. We are human beings. And we can't do it all. Priority and prioritization takes you towards your passion and your goal. And when you prioritize something, that means you are cutting something down in your list. And when you are cutting something down, that means some things get left behind. But if your purpose is met and you are holistically balancing with priorities, whether it's your children, whether it is your aim, your focus, I think guilt should not take over. The moment that happens, that's where the problem begins. And I learned not to be guilty. I'd rather be proud that I'm being able to do what I'm doing, which many other women were not able to do.
Yes, yes, please. Give him another mic.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Okay. Good afternoon.
What an honor to have you on this platform and a great privilege to listen to you. I'm not too sure if I'll be able to articulate my question well, but just try and understand whatever I can gather is this whole journey of yours. How much of that you owe to your own courage, and how much of it was encouragement from, like you mentioned, your extended parts of your body, and how much was truly Stri Shakti?
Whether you call it courage or you call it Stri Shakti, I think I owe it to my first gurus who are my parents. Because the right values given by them at impressionable age. Father never gave colors to genders. He never gave genders to colors, hobbies, clothing, passion. He always said, and he never said, "Mere beta hai." He always said, "Ye meri beti hai, और मेरी बेटी को क्रिकेट खेलना पसंद है, मेरी बेटी को बाइक चलाना पसंद है, मेरी बेटी को आउटडोर्स पसंद है." And there was a mother who herself was a rifle shooter and led the NCC parade of 26 January in her city, wearing a crisp uniform way back. So I think the values that I've got from my parents and the person that they have made me, because I wouldn't have been as courageous. I have suffered from disability as a child for 4.5 years, and that's from 5 years to 10 years of age. And if they had let me become a weakling or someone who had, जिसे हिंदी में हम कहते हैं, अगर मेरे अंदर हीन भावनाएं आ जाती या मेरे अंदर एक अपेक्षित भावना आ जाती कि मेरे माँ बाप मुझे प्यार नहीं करते, I was a very healthy and a very sound mentally, emotionally child, despite my own journey of challenges. So this courage comes from them. This Istri Shakti comes from them. And I am truly, truly grateful to both of them, combined with the value system which my teachers gave me in my school education. I do a lot of workshops in school. I go and meet a lot of students, because that's the right stage. You never change. You are still the same person that you were in your class 10th and 12th. If you look back, your innate nature will not change after that. Your experience will change. You may become a better version of yourself, but the core values will always be what you were made as a child. So I think it all starts there.
Thank you so much, Deepa. Like I said, every word that you say is so inspiring. And for me, I think the one line I will never forget moving forward is how you mentioned that you're doing your course. And through that, it says, he will do this, he will do that. And I think that is the thought that we need to be aware of, and that is what that is why we are having all these conversations, because this is the very.
So there is a chapter which says why women independent directors are important and mandate, but the course on independent directors says he. So yeah.
So like I said, I don't think this is something I will ever forget. Thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
your last message to the youth today's generation, because like I said, you've been saying that your daughters have been huge supporters and played that very important role in your life. What is the message you put out to their generation?
I think to the new generation, I'll not give a suggestion, but I'll request and make an appeal to them to be able to choose and make the right choices. So many options are available to this new generation that they are confused. We did not have this kind of exposure. We did not have this kind of options. We did not have this kind of accessibility to information that this generation has. So choose the right options in life, choose the right kind of values in life, and always remember that you are the future of your area, your geographical area, your country. And now that we are talking about the whole planet being one family, we are the global leaders of G20 today. So we also have to have not just a small vision, but a larger vision, that you have to be sustaining the planet. You have to have the right habits. You have to take care of this very precious planet by having serious sustainability goals and values in your system. and be that citizen of a country who participates in nation building in a positive way. Because each one of us can contribute and be that building block of the new India that our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji is dreaming of. It is, we have done our bit to bring it to India at 75. It is their duty to take it from 75 to India at 100.
Absolutely. Deepa Malik, thank you so much once again. Let's have a huge round of applause for her.